Hey everybody, we are here at SHOT Show 2025, probably for one of our most exciting and most anticipated interviews. It's going to be with our friends at Nocturn Industries. This is Jeff from Nocturn. He runs the whole show. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we're going to talk about some of the most anticipated products in the night vision world. So Jeff, I'm going to let you have the floor.
Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to save the good stuff for last, so you have to watch the whole video. So we're going to start with our newest edition, and that's our new monocular. So this is called the Talon. This one's the Talon R. There will be a Talon standard molded one. This is production representative right here. So circuit board in here is finished. The housing's finished. Everything's ready to go on. So this will be coming out pretty soon. I'd say Q2, you'll see this.
So you said on your Instagram post when you shared this, it can take a plethora of different battery types via this top pod. So how does that work?
All right, so if you see right here, you've got multiple tabs basically. So you have a CR2, which is on now right now. You see how small that is.
Tiny battery.
People are going to ask, why'd you do a CR2? It's a tiny battery. It makes it small, low profile, lighter weight. Why not? It's just a piece of aluminum. Changing your battery is easy. You just swap this out. And the lanyard is no longer a permanently attached lanyard. The lanyard loop will come off so you can re-loop it onto this when you swap your cabs. Then you have your CR123A.
That's a standard
one that everybody gets.
Is it going to come with a CR123A? Okay, cool.
And then you have your AA and AAA.
For all the legacy guys out there.
Yep, and then that's obviously a quick swap.
So in terms of features, what kind of feature set are we looking at this guy?
All right, so this is a full-featured monocular. All of you are familiar with the Tonto, which is a single push button with a CR123A, very simple, and then that turns into a binocular with the Daisho without losing purge or collimation or anything like that. So this can do that too, you can accept. The difference is it's not going to hold purge if you were to take this and put it onto the Raptor, which we'll get to. Well, it will hold collimation. It's not intended to be a hot swap system, but there will be an interchangeable upper for this that allows you to have the new Tonto, which is the Gen 2 Tonto. We don't have that here, but basically this same pod will have a different upper, which is the Tonto upper. So you have exactly that, a fixed gain monocular, exactly like the Tonto, except in an injection molded housing, and still able to be adapted into a bino with a Daisho bridge.
So this guy over here right now, it's using a full aluminum housing.
This one here, yes.
Yes, and then you said this was manual gain, I believe?
Yes, so The difference between this and the Tonto is you have manual gain and illuminator. So it's a single control. We did some things that are a little bit different and unique that we thought were intuitive and people would appreciate. The first thing is your controls are the same as the Manticore. You press and hold to turn it on, you press and hold to turn it off. Gain is just a turn of the knob, simple, and then double tap to turn the illuminator on, same as the Manticore, except with a single button now instead of different independent buttons. That's where the benefit of the Manticore is. You have different buttons for each feature, whereas this one, it's all one control. And when you're in illuminator mode, you can adjust the brightness of the illuminator. So if you want something up close to doing admin tasks, you can turn the brightness down. And then if you need more illumination for navigator or something like that, you can turn the illuminator back up. And then when you leave the illuminator mode, it will save that brightness for the next time you enter illuminator mode. And then it goes automatically back to when you adjust the knob gain control.
I think that's going to be really nice for users. I always love these little knob controls because of how tactile they are. Does it have gain memory? So if you turn it off at a certain gain, it will turn back on at that gain. That's amazing. And of course, it takes a standard J-arm over here. Any kind of quarter 20 J-arm, it fits perfectly fine.
We specifically put the cuts in here for the noise fighter's arm. But they use those, the auto shut-off from the PVS4 as their indicating feature. So we add that in there so that their mouse
no longer needs an adapter.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the Talon R, and will be later this year once we have the mold. I would say Q3. The difference with this and the other products we've announced is what we have here on display at the show is production ready with the production circuit board in. So I'd expect this in the first half of the year.
So that kind of segues into something that's exciting. Now, you've shown us some of the drawings for this guy before it was public, but now we can actually finally talk about it.
Yes.
So let's talk about your new bino system.
So this is the Raptor. We listen to our consumers. Some of you like the digital button on the Manticore, and it's a very good goggle. People like it. But the other half like knobs. We decided, all right, let's make a system that has controls via knob. It's exactly the same control suite as the Talon. Now the cool thing is, if you have two of those, you can take it apart, find just the bridge, and attach it to this, and now you have a dedicated binocular, true binocular.
So you guys will be selling that bridge separately for those people that kind of want to start out with a mono and then upgrade to a bino later down the line.
Be able to do that.
Okay, that's a very, very popular option.
Now, same features as the other goggles, auto shut off when you're stow. The gain control is up here. This will only be available in a molded version. We believe that moving to molded directly with this is going to be the right move, because as we've been advertising and showing to everybody, our molded goggles are extremely rugged. And I don't feel it necessary to make a ruggedized version of this and have two SKUs where the molded version is lower cost to the consumer. It's lighter, it has all the same features, and you can throw it across a room and it's not going to break.
And of course, still covered by your guys' legendary lifetime warranty.
It's lifetime warranty as always.
So the aluminum pods could be fitted onto the molded bridge in this case.
Of course.
So this guy will also, this is obviously a bit of a prototype. This guy will also take a 00B Limo.
Yes.
And, okay. And these are magnesium pods. That's the first for you guys.
Yes. We're trying it out. It's lighter weight, but I'm concerned about the saltwater issues. If you were to have the coating be compromised and you're in a high salt content atmosphere or in the ocean, you're going to have serious corrosion issues. So we're considering it. We're not sure, but it depends on the alloy and all that stuff. So that's up in the air. We don't know if we're going to do that. The mold, and still the molded material is stronger than the magnesium, so there's really no point.
So I do see some cutouts for a different IPD system that I did see in your drawings. It's not currently fully iterated on this final version, but if you can go over what that kind of looks like, that'd be amazing.
So a lot of you are aware of our IPD system that we have on our current systems, and it's basically like a clutch. Yeah. You start by moving up and resetting them and bringing them down, and they're going to stop at the furthest position. And then it's a force to overcome to the position you want, and then it's a pretty hard stop. The whole reason we did that was particularly for reducing a snag hazard and making it as low profile and small and lightweight as possible. That's why we did that. So the new IPD system that's going to be on this does not use that. Instead, there's two notches. I don't know if you're able to see it there, but we have a tab sticking out here and a tab sticking out here. And those rotate with the pod. And then what we have is a wheel in the back that translates. So when you rotate it, the wheel is attached to a screw and it moves back and forth. And when you turn it, it pushes out. And so the pod will stop on the edge of that. And then when you screw it the other way, it allows it to travel further.
So it's a bit more of a hard stop.
That's the design that we have in this. We're planning to move forward with that. If for some reason we can't, then we'll move back to the original IPD design. But for right now, that's the plan to move forward with that. So that's the Raptor. I would expect this closer to the end of the year. We're still finalizing the design for this, but we wanted to announce it, let everybody know this is coming.
So if you get a Talon, you can upgrade to this down the line.
So the Talon will be able to be upgraded to this, just like the Tonto and the Daisho. And there will be a Tonto version of this, so for those of you that like the 10160 simple on and off with auto gain and all that.
And the Tonto version of this can fit onto the Daisho?
I haven't decided if we're going to do a new Gen 2 Daisho to go with it, to make it smaller, more compact, lighter weight, and improve the product line, or if we're going to maintain the Daisho as is and just make it work with that.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll keep our eyes out for that. All right, so let's probably move on into, I believe, your two most anticipated products, starting with the Alpha mount, or the Nix mount, as we like to call it. So we got that logo made already.
A little inside to that. So Nick, my business partner, he's the one that designed this and did a very good job with it. We announced this at last SHOT Show, and we've been doing a lot of work to improve this and get this to a point where we want to release this. It is released. We will start shipping these next month. We actually brought, I think, like 30 of these to the show for sending out for evaluations and other people who want them at the booths and things like that. And we're very happy with how it's turned out. This mount is being well received by others. I'm personally really happy with this. So we call it the Alpha mount. That is, Alpha sounds awesome, but the acronym is Adaptable, Lightweight, Powered Helmet Arm.
Well, if you know CHS, we love acronyms, so that's perfect for us. So I do want to go over the fact that last year when we saw this, it was very, very early in its development cycle. It was, just an early thing, a proof of concept kind of thing. Now that we have, is this the final version over here that I'm holding?
The final version.
Now that we have the final version in my hand, this thing is pretty freaking solid. Like, I was impressed by how solid it is. The lockup on this is amazing, as good or better than anything that I felt in the market. The range of adjustment is very, very impressive. All the buttons are super tactile, and it weighs like nothing. So you guys knocked it out of the park.
Two of these is a few grams lighter, and I'm going to use the G24 as a benchmark because it's the most popular mount on the market. It is a few grams lighter than a G22 of these, so one of these is less than half the load. One of the things that we've done to this that's unique, we slimmed it down, made it lighter, but a lot of mounts end up having issues where there's play and wobble over time, they wear out. So to combat that, because we know that was going to happen already, we've done a couple things to make it so that is mitigated. One thing is, yes, we have a lockout, but beyond that lockout is a ball detent, so it's still locked. So it becomes a force to overcome once you push the lockout. So you just force it over, And same thing coming down. So you have a ball detent and the lockout. So you have to press the lockout
Extra
and
security.
overcome a detent. The intent of that is specifically to get rid of clay. Even as this wears over time, because it's going to wear over time. I'm not going to pretend that materials don't wear as you use them. The ball detent will continue to fill up that extra slop that you get and absorb that. And it's a strong enough ball detent that you could use this as a force to overcome mount on itself, which you can. If the user wanted to, they could disassemble this, pull the blade, and
Oh, wow.
put it
That's
back
something I
together,
didn't know
and that's a
about.
force to overcome.
Okay, so when you buy this mount, you have the option to do that yourself.
Yes.
Very, very cool.
Pitch control, like normal. 1.64 inches of travel, I believe. And then you have a vertical sled as well. And we have these set screws that are paired on each side. And they're nylon tipped, so they won't mar off the surface finish, and it allows it to slide nice and smooth. That'll be set from the factory. That absorbs any kind of mismatch in tolerance. And if you wanted to, as the end user, you can tighten those and lock them in place. And another cool thing that we've done is on the back here. Now, a lot of you are used to seeing a little rubber insert. We designed it so that it will work with any shroud. So you have 3 to 4 points of contact. This one's permanent. This one's removable.
Ah, very
So
nice.
if you have a very nice spinning mount that's solid, you can take that out if you want to, and then just pop that back in. And it's a force space. So when you put it in and you go to snap this in, and then it'll latch in place, and there's no play. So your middle position here. So you've got a lock. You have a breakaway, and then that's your release.
Amazing.
Very familiar to what others are using. And one last thing about this, there's 2 holes in the bottom. Alpha has powered in it, so we will be releasing at some point a powered version of this that will have an adapter that fits underneath the dovetail, and the pogo pins will go through here and power the goggle. It'll plug into your remote battery port, so you don't need a cable anymore, and you can be powered through your mount. So when you remove your goggle, that is breaking away your connection to your battery. So if you have onboard power, you can still use that, but when it's connected, it acts as if your battery pack's connected. We're not the first to do a powered hot shoe, it's called, but no one's released into the consumer market, so we decided to create something for the consumers. And if you buy this mount, they will be able to be converted to powered later if you wish.
So these guys are coming out in black right now. I know other colors are going to be popular. Is there plans for tan or even green?
We definitely will have the FDE, like a coyote brown like this.
Amazing.
If not in anodized, definitely it's Cerakote, but most likely anodized.
Well, guys, I'm super excited for this mount. I think this thing might be kind of the killer app for a lot of people in terms of the ultimate NV mount. And I wish you guys were here because this thing feels so solid. It's hard to believe that they can make a mount this light and this solid. Well, now that that's out of the way, I think it's time for the flagship, what everybody's been waiting for, and it's going to obviously be the full Nocturn Industries Chimera. So let's get into it. There's probably a lot to talk about, and I do have a lot of
So I'm
questions.
going to start with our current bridge. So just the Chimera bridge, for those of you that aren't familiar, this is a GPMG 18. They're on a fixed bridge system. We also make this for the Lindu QTMEG, and we also make this for the Anvis 10. We've improved this. There's 2 versions here, which you see this one. This is what everybody's used to. You have a power button on the front, and then you have it used to be a cable sticking out.
And now it's just a port, double odd label.
Or, yes, exactly. Same as our other ones. You use their same cables, same battery pack, all that stuff. That's the lighter options. And we took some of the improvements that we did on the SOCOM version, which is this, and incorporated it into that, which includes we moved the lanyard points up front. The bungees work much better on that. And then we've added in the back here a ball detents. And this is particularly for jumping out of aircraft. When you pull a parachute, these will not come down on you.
And they're really, really tactile, guys. They feel great. They have like a really nice kind of subtle click to them. It's really nice.
That's the major improvements we've done to this, and the big changes from what it was before. For the GPMG version of it, which is the same as the Chimera for the whole goggle, the shoe is aluminum now.
Yeah, you always see the guys attaching the elastics on the GPMVG 18s that will resolve a lot of those issues.
So this version will be available, the powered version, which is the other improvement we've done to this. So we've added a CR1238 battery on board, and on the bottom is a Fisher port. So this particularly will work with your existing GPMG 18 battery pack. Initially, this was going to be LE and defense only, and we are able to release this for consumer market.
Super excited for that because that was a big question a lot of people had. I think one point you also forgot to mention is the rear part over here is steel, right?
Oh yeah, 17.4 pH Israel. Right now they're DLC'd. We're moving from the DLC to the FNC. It gives you a better coating and some harder, it won't wear, and so we're going to switch to that. That's simple. I mean, in production, we just changed the code over. The base plate's going to be interchangeable, so you could do a slick bottom
Okay, so just
Just
onboard
3
power.
screws, pull it off.
And then a battery onboard C123, how long does that last? Maybe like 10 hours?
10 to 12 hours.
10, 12 hours, okay.
And then you can configure your base plate to the certain version.
Very, very cool. So before we get into the pods, and I know you guys are excited for that, what's the price difference between the powered bridge, like the onboard powered bridge, and the only offboard?
So this is 2,500 MSRP, I believe, is what we listed at and released. This is 2,900 MSRP.
So, bridge out of the way, you guys have had that out for a little while now. Something new, not vaporware, finally real, is going to be the full Chimera systems, specifically the panel pods that you guys are developing in-house.
Yes, so this is the final iteration. As we've been telling people, the big holdup has been optics. We've been through multiple optics vendors and did multiple different designs and iterations of this. And just to give you guys kind of an idea of what it takes to design these, at least for us, panoramic goggles are not that hard. There's tricks to it. You got to understand what you're doing. But when you have that understanding, I got these optics 3 weeks ago from RPM. And I was able to make fixturing, cut these in-house, and assemble them in our fleet arrays. And make a functioning goggle. That's, and prove out the design and make sure, okay, yeah, this actually works. There might be some little subtle things we do here and there, but 3 weeks to alter the design to work with those optics. The hard part of the design was already done, but it's just changing a couple things. But the whole design is dependent completely on the optics because the distance from the image tube is important. That's your back focal length. And then your focal length is the retina, and the distance between all the optics and the optical stack and how the optics assemble inside the housing. All of that controls the truncation, but the distance, that everything is spaced, and it changes everything with inside.
There's so many variables when it comes to building a panel goggle because you're running these tubes, they're panned out, the screen distance in the tubes could affect how it looks. There's so many variables taken into account with it.
So with not having an optic settled on, we only could have a basic layout and a concept of it.
Okay.
And then designing it and redesigning it over and over again for each optic, that made it easier for me to do the final iteration of this. But finally settling on a vendor, and a vendor that's supporting us, RPO is going to support us. These are going to be RPO 4.0 eyepieces. Right now, we're going to be producing the optics in-house as far as cutting them and assembling them. But for production, we won't be. They're going to be assembled and provided to us from a professional company who actually makes the optics. The optics have a 28mm eye relief, a much larger eye box, less vignetting, and the seam between the two fused optics it's not visible. So it's still a figure 8, but the image is smooth all the way across. So what we were trying to do with this was to bring costs down and make this more approachable. I know it's still expensive, but you're talking about a $15,000 panoramic goggle that articulates with fully built.
And US made.
And US made versus a $40,000 goggle.
Exactly.
With a fixed bridge. And you can put any 18mm tubes in this that you want. Photonis, Elbit, L3.
Anything you want.
Whatever. There will be a manual gain version in the future. I know people asked about that. It's already designed in.
Amazing.
So that we can, once we have the bridge and all that for that, we will be able to release that. But the pods will be the same pods. The eyepieces, what we were trying to do to bring price down is to use something that's already in production. Use a PVS-14 type of optics, but in a different housing.
That was like one of the original goals you guys had for this when you first started developing it. Yeah.
And that was part of the challenge is, we could have developed new optics and spent a lot of money to do that and put the price of this really high. I didn't want to do that. The whole point in that is this is to make it more approachable
For sure.
and more achievable for people. So $8,500 is the MSRP price with optics, no tubes. That's with the bridge, yes.
Yeah.
That's with this one. We were able to do that because of that method of using something that's already going to be in production. The objectives, we don't have 4.0 objectives yet. These are 3.0, and this is the new Syntec objectives. We're evaluating those as well. But the cool thing is, because it's PVS 14 eyes, you can do any objective in this you want as long as it plays well with the eyepiece.
If you wanted to put Fuji, whatever lenses on it, anything you want, even there's a lot of lenses out there. I'm sure you guys can use your imagination to figure that out. They all work.
Yes, exactly.
So when you buy this as a kit, it's going to come with the rear lenses because that's a bit more proprietary, but that has to be cut to fit the system. And the front lens, is that going to be a dealer side
coming
thing?
with it.
It's coming with the front lenses. Amazing. Okay.
But if you wanted other lenses, that's okay. So that price includes the lenses on
Full
the
set.
front bag,
Okay, full set of lenses.
Optics are typically designed to work together.
Yeah.
But because they're working with a 18mm image tube, they all also kind of can be mix and match.
There's like a little bit more of a standard with PVS 14 optics.
Yes. So we'll be selling this with an optics set for $8,500, ready for tubes.
Yeah, we're definitely going to carry this. Now on to some more technical questions because I know our viewers love that in our channel. How does the tube kind of fit in there? How does the collimation work, diopter, stuff like that? So let's go into how this is kind of assembled, if you can get into that. Of course, we're not going to assemble this on the table right now. That would be a nightmare, but if you can kind of walk us through the process, that'd be amazing.
So part of having 2 years to work on this also allowed us to do a lot of R&D. So part of that was developing the bridge, making the bridge better, knowing that that was going to be the bridge for the full god. And we've, I think, come to a very mature product now. The assembly of this, I wanted this to be simple and easy for the dealers, as well as if an end user wants to build them themselves, they can. I recommend that a dealer do it, or experienced builder, but setting 0 diopter is as simple as literally putting the tube in until it stops.
Right.
No shimmers. Now, the way that's working is we're controlling the distance from the tube to the optic with there's like an insert in there. Now, some people are going to say, oh, you can't do that because the output screen of the image tube to the back of the image tube power supply isn't controlled very well, and they're right. It's about a 45,000 plus or minus.
Yeah, it depends on the brand, depends on the badge. There's so many different things that go into there.
There's a lot of variation. Diameter of the photocathode and the power supply, the opening for that. All of that varies. Did a lot of studying, a lot of trial and error, and getting this just right so that when you, I won't fully disclose exactly what we're doing right now, but on the builder side, it's as simple as putting the tube in all the way until it touches, stops. It automatically sets 0 diopter.
And that automatically overcomes the kind of screen distance and everything like that?
Yes. In the case that it doesn't, there's a backup built in there.
I see.
So it's a wave spring washer.
Okay.
So when you put the tube in with the front and back there, and you compress it, when you put the tube in and you put the retaining ring in, there is an insert that stops the tube from turning. Right. So you won't have that issue either with the tube turning and coming off the contacts when you're installing it.
Right.
It's a channel. There's an insert you drop into the channel for the indicating tab, and the tube will slide in and out instead of rotate. You tighten the ring down, and it will compress that spring until you hit 0 diopter.
And then the spring provides tension on the entire system.
And if you go too far, you could unscrew it and it'll go back.
Wow, very, very creative.
That's backup. That's the plan B. In case there's too much variation in the image tube, depending, because you could use any image tube in here you want. And this is designed specifically with Elba L3 and Photonis in mind.
The 3 big
but
guys.
There's a lot of other manufacturers for tubes out there.
Of course.
And I know people are going to use them a lot. So, in theory, it should work with all those other tubes. However, in the case that it doesn't, there is the second option that we built into it, so nobody's out of luck. And then, as far as the objectives go, collimating is quite easy as well. So what we've done is this front assembly here is its own piece. It's eccentric, so the optic is off-centered. What you do is you set this in, you put set screws in loosely so that this turns. And it's on a set of O-rings, so it's nice and stiff, so it won't move around on the wheel on you. It's held on center. It's very easy to collimate these. You take this tool, stick it over the edge, and then you are able to rotate this and see through it. And you just rotate it until your image aligns, tighten the set screw, and you're done.
Wow.
And then you do that across the whole thing.
Wow.
I collimated these here
over
at our meeting table. And you can tell it looks fun. But the point was to make it so that the end user can do it if they really wanted to, but make it easy for the dealers to build this so that it's, if it's easy for them to build, they're going to want to sell them.
And then in the front lens just goes in like normal, just screws in like a 14 lens. It looks like it uses the same D-ring as your other products.
You can clean these and service these without losing collimation. You can take the optic out, clean it, service it, whatever, put it back on, repurge it, and you're good to go.
That's amazing. And in terms of diopter, how's it going to work for people that don't exactly have perfect vision?
So in the back here, we have a similar to the PNVG 18. You got a clip on here, so we're going to make a clip on diopter. And there is a space. We realized that on the GPs, the diopter goes right up against the optic, and you often get these little spots in the center over time. We made this stick out slightly so that there's a standoff, so that you're not impacting those the back of those optics.
Yeah, and delaminating them or damaging them. And because you have that bigger eye relief, the standoff is not going to affect the image quality at all. As a last question, what's the ETA on this guy? Because that's what everybody's asking.
All right, so we have the optics now. The 4.0 optics are going into production. RPO's just starting. I think they just did LRIF with those, which is low rate initial production for those who don't know what that means. That's short run production, so you can find out if there's any production issues before you go into full run. So we're on that timeline. These are going into production now as far as the optics go, and we'll be able to make samples for any DoD or LE that are interested in evaluating these. We will be able to provide samples within the next 2 to 3 months, and they'll be made out of machined housings instead of the injection molded so that they can evaluate these. This will be injection molded as a final product. As some people wanted aluminum, but I'm telling you guys, the aluminum is heavy. We're trying to make the system light. We spoke to our vendor for the injection molding today. They told us roughly 12 weeks for T0 parts, which would be our first samples. Once we submit blueprints, which should be in about 2 weeks. I want to double that because if there's any issues along the way, so I want to say you'll see these in Q3. Because I don't want to give people a timeline and then blow it again, because I know people are frustrated with that. I'm sorry that even happens. Things happen, things fell through. There's a lot more coming for this system in the future too. So we're doing a lot with this goggle. Things that people haven't seen before, but stay tuned for that. That's going to be next year.
So this isn't just a goggle, it's an ecosystem.
And what I'm talking about is not like the average user. This is future goggle stuff.
All right, well, we're super excited to get these in our hands. I'm sure everybody else is as well. You guys have definitely knocked out of the park from the ones I've seen. All right, Jeff, well, that concludes the SHOT Show 2025 interview with Nocturn. Again, you guys were looking forward to this one a lot, and I learned a lot here today. These guys are pushing the standards and the boundaries of the night vision world, and we, of course, love working with them. Thank you so much, man.